Before the world stirred awake and the city buzzed to life, the office halls echoed with a gentle swish, the sound of a mop gliding across polished floors. At the heart of that stillness moved Lily, dressed in a crisp blue uniform, her hair neatly tied back in a ponytail. She wasn't just cleaning, she was dancing. Quietly, rhythmically, to the beat of the music playing in her earphones. Her every movement was focused and peaceful, as if she found her own kind of magic in these early hours. Lily wasn't like most people. She started her day before sunrise, arriving at 5 a.m. sharp, long before anyone else. It wasn't just dedication, it was strategy. She preferred to finish her tasks before the office workers flooded in, before the eyes that judged, stared, or simply looked through her made her feel invisible again. The office was a strange world, bright during the day, full of chatter and ambition, but in the early morning it was hers alone. It gave her peace. It gave her power. As she worked, a flicker of light behind her made her freeze. Her heart skipped, and she pulled out her earphones. But instead of danger, she heard a familiar voice echo gently down the hallway. "Good morning, kiddo." It was Mr. Holland, the elderly security guard. He stood by the doorway, his posture stiff but eyes kind. Lily's tense shoulders relaxed. This man had become her morning companion. Stoic and gruff on the outside, he had a warm heart hidden beneath the years of service and solitude. "You even sleep?" he joked in his rough but friendly voice. "Feels like you live here?" Lily laughed softly, leaning on her mop. "Good morning, Mr. Holland. I get plenty of sleep, just like—" The quiet before the crowd. There was a pause. A silence between them filled not with awkwardness, but with comfort. Mr. Holland tucked his hands into his pockets and watched her work, the soft rhythm of the mop echoing through the corridor. "You remind me of my Susan," he said, his voice suddenly distant. "Always up before the sun. By the time I got out of bed, breakfast was hot and the house looked like a palace." Lily turned to him, her eyes soft with understanding. She knew about Susan, his late wife. He'd mentioned her in passing before, usually followed by a quiet look out the window and a long breath. It had only been a year since Susan had passed. 45 years of love, gone in a winter storm of pneumonia, and Mr. Holland was still learning how to walk through life alone. "I think you skipped breakfast again," Lily said with a smile, trying to lighten the mood. "Lucky for you, I brought tuna sandwiches." At the mention of food, Mr. Holland's eyes lit up like a boy's. "Haven't eaten since last night," he admitted. Appetite disappears in silence. Minutes later, the two sat side by side, on the clean floor, sipping tea from Lily's thermos and sharing sandwiches. Between bites, Mr. Holland recounted stories from his Marine days, adventures filled with danger, brotherhood, and hard-earned wisdom. Lily listened with wonder, as she always did. These moments weren't just stories, they were survival. For Mr. Holland, they were memories that kept Susan close. For Lily, they were lessons in strength, told by a man who'd seen the world and lived through its hardest truths. But there was something else about Lily, something no one in that office knew. Beneath the mop and uniform, behind the quiet smile, lived a heart that had survived its own battles. A tragic past, a painful loss, and a promise to protect someone far more precious than herself. She wasn't just a janitor. She was a sister, a survivor, and a woman with a story waiting to be told. And in this quiet corner of the world, as dawn painted golden lines across the corridor floor, Lily's journey was only just beginning. Lily wasn't born with a silver spoon or a safety net. Her life changed forever at just 14, on a rainy evening when the phone rang and her world collapsed. A tragic car accident took both her parents, and though her 4-year-old sister Julia survived, the doctor's words were like thunder, crashing through Lily's young heart. She'll never walk again. Paralyzed from the waist down, Julia would need constant care. Suddenly, Lily wasn't a child anymore. She became the only protector her little sister had left. Their grandmother, Grace, stepped in to take them both in. She was warm but aging, and Lily knew she couldn't do it alone. So Lily made the choice no teenager should ever have to make. She dropped out of school to raise her sister. While her classmates learned algebra and history, Lily learned how to change medical equipment, prepare Julia's meals, and calm her little sister's nightmares. But even in grief, Lily never let her spirit die. Every smile from Julia became her reward, every giggle a victory. Grace, seeing Lily's dedication, worked herself to the bone at a local bakery just to make ends meet. She often came home with flour dusting her clothes and exhaustion in her eyes. But her heart was full, because Lily was raising Julia with the kind of love that couldn't be taught. Years passed. Lily matured quickly, and so did her dreams. Grace, now nearing retirement, insisted that Lily go back to school. "It's your turn now," she said with a firm yet loving voice. And Lily did. She returned to her studies with unmatched focus. She was no ordinary student. She was driven by purpose. She excelled in her subjects, especially in anything analytical or technical. Her teachers noticed. But while her classmates planned for prom and college visits, Lily quietly stayed behind after school to help Grace at the bakery and return home, in time to tutor Julia. By the time her peers were trying on graduation gowns and laughing over future plans, Lily sat alone with her laptop, watching free online tutorials. College? It was a luxury she couldn't afford. Dresses? Parties? None of that mattered to her. Every dollar she made or saved went to medicine, rent, or Julia's wheelchair maintenance. But Lily was not bitter. In fact, she found joy in books. She started teaching Julia to read with picture stories, then built up to science and math workbooks. Their tiny living room, though modest, was filled with laughter and the sound of flipping pages. She turned every moment into an opportunity to teach her little sister not just academics, but resilience. Lily's routine was grueling. She worked part-time at a warehouse stacking boxes during the day, then returned home to help Grace in the kitchen, clean the house, and spend hours tutoring Julia. She slept little, worked endlessly, and smiled often. Then, one day, the spark that would change her life arrived in the most unexpected way. Julia, now 12 and quite clever, noticed that Lily had been feeling down. When she asked what was wrong, Lily confessed the fear gnawing at her heart. "I'm scared I'll be doing hard labor jobs forever. I want something more, but I don't know how to reach it. With the innocence and wisdom only a child can." Have Julia showed her a website. It teaches programming like a game, she said, her eyes gleaming with excitement. Lily hesitated at first, but gave it a try. That night, something clicked inside her. The challenges, the puzzles, the logic, it all made sense. It felt like her brain had found a home it never knew it missed. She was hooked. From that moment on, every free hour Lily had, she spent at the computer, playing the learning game. Her determination burned brighter than ever. Her tired hands, once used to scrub floors and lift boxes, now typed lines of code with growing confidence. Little did Lily know, this spark, this quiet, late-night obsession, would one day change everything. Her past may have been marked by loss, but her future was beginning to take shape. For months, Lily balanced her exhausting routine with a quiet determination. By day, she worked in the warehouse, lifting heavy boxes and ensuring that the shelves were stocked. By night, she dove into her self-taught programming lessons, devouring every resource she could find. She was building something. Though small, it was powerful. A future that wasn't confined to the heavy lifting she had done for years. She knew that if she worked hard enough, the future would come, slowly but surely. But like all things in life, there are moments when the ground beneath you shifts. And for Lily, that shift came one quiet afternoon in the warehouse. It was a typical day. Lily, though tired, was determined to power through her shift. She had a job to do, and she couldn't afford to lose any time. The task ahead of her seemed simple, moving a heavy box to a high shelf. She had done it countless times before, and it was just another part of her routine. But this time, something was different. As she reached for the box, the sharp pain hit, like a bolt of lightning. It started in her lower back and radiated out in a fierce, searing wave. She staggered, losing her grip on the box as it slipped from her hands and crashed to the floor. The suddenness of the pain made her knees buckle, and she collapsed beside the box, unable to move. For a few moments, Lily could only breathe, trying to gather herself. But the pain didn't ease. She tried to stand but couldn't. Her body felt foreign to her, like she wasn't in control. One of the supervisors rushed over, concern etched on his face, and helped her to the medical office. The diagnosis was worse than she could have imagined. The doctors confirmed what she feared. One of the discs in her spine had cracked. She needed to take months off work and avoid any physical strain that might make the injury worse. The reality hit her hard. This injury didn't just prevent her from working in the warehouse. It threatened everything. Her job was the only thing standing between her and financial ruin. She had no savings, no backup plan. The warehouse had provided a steady paycheck, but now it was taken away. Lily's heart sank as the weight of her circumstances pressed in on her. At home, things weren't much better. Grace and Julia relied on her for support, and Lily had always been the pillar that held everything together. How would she care for them now? She sat in the quiet of her room, the walls closing in, her mind spinning with all the what-ifs. Could she go on without the steady income she had worked so hard to maintain? Would she have to give up on the dreams she'd been quietly building for herself? The next few days were a blur of doctor's visits and long nights spent staring at the ceiling. The weight of the decision ahead felt crushing. She couldn't afford to stay in the warehouse, but the idea of leaving her family behind to pursue her dreams in the city seemed impossible. That was when Grace, sensing the shift in her granddaughter, spoke up. "You've done so much for us, Lily," Grace said softly, her voice filled with both pride and sadness. "But now it's your turn to live for yourself." Lily looked at her grandmother, unsure of how to process the words. "What do you mean?" "You've always put us first, always made sure we were okay. Now you need to do something for yourself. Go to the city, find a new job, and chase your dreams." Lily shook her head, her eyes welling with tears. "But how can I leave you both?" Grace reached out, placing a hand gently on her arm. "We'll be fine, Lily. We've been preparing for this. You've worked so hard, and now it's time for you to do something for you." It took days for Lily to even begin to consider it. She was torn. How could she leave her family behind when they had done so much for her? But she knew Grace was. Right, it was time to take the leap. The following morning, Lily packed her things. She wasn't sure what the future would hold, but she knew she couldn't stay where she was. She kissed her grandmother and Julia goodbye, promising to return soon. Grace handed her an envelope with her savings, small, but enough to get her started. The bus ride to the city was a mixture of fear and hope. As Lily looked out the window, she realized that this was her chance. It wasn't just a chance to get a job. It was a chance to reshape her life, to prove to herself that she could do more than just survive. She could thrive. As the city skyline came into view, Lily made a promise to herself. "No matter how hard it gets, I won't go back. I will find a way." Her journey was just beginning. The city was big, noisy, and overwhelming. Lily rented a tiny room and began the job hunt with hopeful eyes and trembling hands. She poured her heart into her resume, highlighting her self-taught programming skills and strong work ethic. But one by one, the rejections came. Some companies didn't even respond. Others dismissed her politely. "We're looking for candidates with formal education." Her hope began to flicker. Then, one day, she spotted a small ad pinned on a bulletin. "Bored at a cafe. Beginner programmers wanted. No experience needed." Her heart skipped. She ran across town, resume in hand, ready to make her pitch. But when she arrived, the security guard at the door gave her a sorrowful look. "You're the 7th person today," he said. "They just filled the position." Lily felt her knees weaken. She was too late. She turned to leave, her heart breaking. But then the old guard called after her. "They're hiring a janitor, though. Would you be interested?" At first, she almost said no. But then something inside her shifted. Maybe this was the foot in the door she needed. She turned back, smiled, and shook his hand. "I'll take it." His name was Peter Holland. He reminded her a little of her grandmother, wise, gentle, and observant. They chatted for a few minutes. Before she left, Lily asked, "Did you offer the janitor job to the others?" Peter shook his head. "No, I guess I was waiting for someone like you." That evening, Lily sat in her room, staring at the ceiling. She was a janitor now. But she wasn't defeated. She had entered the building. And somehow, she knew this was only the beginning. Lily had slipped quietly into her new life as a janitor. She wasn't ashamed. Every corner she cleaned, every spill she mopped up, was done with silent pride. She treated her job like art, swift, precise, invisible. Few noticed her. Fewer still knew her name, but one person did. Mr. Holland, the kind old security guard who had offered her the job, remained her closest companion in the building. Their early morning chats became a small sanctuary of comfort in the otherwise cold workplace. Inside the office, things were different. Sandra, the secretary, never missed a chance to mock Lily's simple uniform or remind her of her place. One day, while passing a boutique window near the office, Lily paused in front of a breathtaking navy blue dress. Short in the front, flowing. In the back, it was everything she had once dreamed of wearing to her high school graduation, but never could afford. The price tag glared at her like a cruel joke. She couldn't afford a sleeve of it. Lost in thought, she didn't hear Sandra and her group walk up behind her. "Well, well, dreaming big, are we?" Sandra sneered. "That dress costs more than your entire month's wage, sweetheart. Keep walking." Lily offered no reply. She was used to Sandra's cruelty, but it stung nonetheless. Back at work, Lily buried herself in her tasks. The only warmth she found was in her daily chats with Mr. Holland and her own quiet determination. She knew something would change. She just didn't know when. Then came the picnic. Finley, the owner of the company, announced a spring team building event in the woods. There was laughter and excitement. Lily assumed she wasn't invited. After all, she was just the janitor. But Finley noticed. He stepped out of the meeting room, found her in the hallway, and said, "Lily, you're part of this company, too. You should come." She was stunned. His words felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. The morning of the picnic, Lily felt nervous. She arrived early and stayed to the side, observing others laugh and mingle. Then Finley arrived, with his young son Travis. The boy, just 3 years old, was full of energy and wonder. Sandra, tasked with watching him, was too busy gossiping with her friends. That's when it happened. Travis spotted a stray dog wandering near the edge of the woods. "Doggy," he shouted, breaking into a run. The dog turned, ears pinned back, teeth bared. It growled, low and threatening. Before anyone else reacted, Lily was already moving. She sprinted, heart pounding, and scooped Travis up just as the dog lunged. The animal's teeth sank into her leg. She screamed but didn't let go of the child. Another bite grazed her arm. Still, she held him tightly. The dog barked and snarled, but the noise of approaching people startled it. Men ran toward Lily, Finley leading the way. The dog turned and vanished into the trees. Lily stood there trembling, blood seeping down her leg, holding Travis close to her chest. Finley was beside himself. "You saved my son. I can't even thank you enough," he said, holding Travis and wrapping an arm around Lily's shoulders. Despite the pain, Lily whispered, "I'm okay. It's not that bad." But it was. She needed stitches, injections, rest. Finley took her to the hospital himself, staying by her side the entire time. Back at the picnic site, word spread. Many colleagues, moved by Lily's bravery, canceled the event out of respect. Sandra tried to make light of it. We shouldn't cancel everything just because the janitor got bitten. But her words were met with angry silence. For once, Sandra's cruelty didn't win. In the hospital, Lily lay quietly, watching the ceiling. Her leg throbbed, but her heart was light. She hadn't just saved a life, she had changed hers, and soon she'd find out just how much. But there was one more surprise waiting for Lily, one that would change everything. At dinner, Finley turned to her and said, "I've been thinking about something else. I want to offer you a real chance. We're opening a tech department here, and I'd like you to be part of it. I know you've got the skills. I want to help you pursue your dream." Lily's heart soared. This was it, the moment she had been waiting for. The opportunity to truly step into the future she had worked so hard for was now within her reach. And as she looked at her family, her heart full, she realized that she wasn't just a janitor anymore. She was someone with a future, someone who had overcome the odds and earned her place at the table. Lily never expected that her simple act of bravery would alter the course of her life. She had always kept to herself, just the janitor, doing her work with quiet diligence, hiding her dreams of a different life. But now, her name was on the lips of everyone at the office. She wasn't just the woman who cleaned the floors anymore. She was the one who had saved Finley's son, the one who had risked everything to protect a child. The days following the incident felt like a whirlwind. Lily's phone rang more than usual, but it wasn't just work calls. People from the office, colleagues she'd never spoken to, reached out to express their gratitude, admiration, and even friendship. It was all overwhelming. But one thing hadn't changed: Sandra. She still held herself above Lily, casting judgment with every glance. It was as if Sandra couldn't stand the idea that Lily, someone she had looked down on, had become a hero in the eyes of everyone else. One morning, Lily was in the office kitchen, grabbing a cup of coffee when she overheard Sandra talking to a colleague. "I just don't get it," Sandra was saying. "She's the janitor. What right does she have to be the hero? It's not like she's a real employee here." Lily's heart sank. She had hoped things would get better, that Sandra would at least respect her for her actions. But instead, Sandra's bitterness only seemed to grow. Yet, Lily refused to let it bother her. She had bigger things to focus on, things like the meeting she was about to attend. After the incident, Finley had made it clear that he valued Lily. He wanted her to help out more. One day, when the usual secretary called in sick, Finley turned to Lily and said, "I need you to step in today. Can you handle it?" Lily hesitated for only a second. She had never been a secretary, and the thought of sitting in on important negotiations made her stomach twist with nerves. But she didn't back down. "I'll do it," she said, her voice firm but filled with doubt. Finley smiled, clearly impressed by her determination. "I know you can." At home that evening, Lily stood in front of the mirror, unsure of what to wear. She wasn't the janitor anymore. She wasn't just someone cleaning the floors. She was about to represent herself, about to step into a whole new world. Her hand hovered over the simple uniform, but then she thought of the dress Finley had given her. It had been a gift, a symbol of respect, and as she slipped into the elegant blue dress, she felt an unfamiliar warmth spread through her. She wasn't the quiet, invisible girl she used to be. Tonight, she was something more. When Lily walked into the meeting, the room went silent. Finley turned, and for a moment, his face was one of pure surprise. The woman who had been cleaning his office just days before now stood before him, poised, confident, elegant. The transformation was impossible to ignore. But Lily's mind was sharp. As the meeting wore on, she listened carefully to every detail, every word. And then, at the very last moment, she caught something that everyone else had missed, a crucial detail in the contract. Without a second thought, she wrote it down, folded the note, and passed it discreetly to Finley. He looked at it, his eyes widening in surprise. A moment later, he raised the point in the discussion, seamlessly integrating it into the deal. The partners nodded, impressed by his sharp eye. After the meeting, Finley turned to Lily. His face was full of admiration. "That was incredible. How did you catch that?" he asked, clearly amazed. Lily smiled modestly. "I just noticed it. I thought it was important, and I didn't want you to miss it." Finley's admiration was genuine. He was more than just impressed. He was moved. He knew then that Lily wasn't just an employee. She was someone who had the potential to do so much more. Later that evening, Finley invited her to dinner as a thank you. They picked up Travis, his son, on the way. The dinner was light, with conversation flowing freely between them. For the first time, Lily opened up about her past, about her dreams of becoming more than just a janitor, about her journey from small-town girl to self-taught programmer, and about her desire to bring her family into the city to live with her one day. Finley listened, captivated by her story. As the evening wore on, something shifted between them. There was a connection, something deeper than just employer and employee. Lily had never expected this, but in the warmth of that dinner, she felt seen, respected, and even cherished. As they drove back to her apartment, Finley's thoughts were clouded with something unfamiliar, feelings he hadn't expected to develop. He admired her strength, her resilience, and her heart. Maybe there was more to their relationship than he'd realized. Lily, too, felt something stir inside her. It was the first time in years that she felt like someone truly understood her. Not just as a worker, but as a person. But there was still one question left. What would the future hold for them? Lily had never imagined that she would go from cleaning office floors to sitting at a table in a high-powered negotiation meeting. The transformation was still surreal, but it felt right. Every challenge, every step she had taken had led to this moment. This chance to finally step into a new life, one filled with possibilities she'd only dreamed of. After the meeting, Finley's admiration for Lily grew even deeper. Her quick thinking, her keen eye for detail, and the calm composure she'd shown in the face of pressure were traits not often seen in someone from her background. He started to see her in a new light, not just as the janitor, but as someone truly capable, someone who had the potential to contribute more to the company than he had ever imagined. Lily, for her part, was still adjusting to the idea that her life was changing. She had always kept her head down, worked hard, and kept her dreams hidden away. But now, in the wake of saving Travis, helping in the meeting, and being valued for the first time in a place she had once felt invisible, she couldn't deny the shift happening inside her. But not everything was smooth sailing. Sandra, the secretary who had always treated Lily like an outsider, still held onto her superiority. She had never taken kindly to Lily's rise, and her resentment only deepened after the meeting where Lily had saved the day. Sandra's bitterness showed in the way she interacted with Lily, cold, condescending, and ever-present in her attempts to remind Lily of her place. But despite Sandra's behavior, Lily didn't back down. She had learned that no one could define her future except for herself. She wasn't going to let anyone, not even Sandra, undermine the progress she had made. One afternoon, Lily stood by the office window during a lunch break, watching the world go by. She had just finished cleaning a meeting room when she caught sight of a beautiful dress in the boutique window across the street. It was the same dress she had eyed months ago, the one she had dreamed of wearing to a special event. This time, it wasn't just a fleeting wish, it felt real. The price tag was still high, but something in her had changed. For the first time, in a long while, she thought, maybe one day I can own that dress. Just as she was lost in thought, Finley walked by and caught her staring at the dress. Without saying anything, he stepped into the store and came out moments later, a small gift, wrapped in his hands. "You deserve it," he said, handing her the bag. Lily's heart skipped a beat. Inside was the navy blue dress she had admired, the same one. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Her hands trembled as she looked up at him. I don't know what to say," she whispered, her eyes filling with tears. How could he know what this meant to her? Finley simply smiled. "You've done more than enough for others, Lily. It's time you get something for yourself." That evening, after a long day at work, Lily sat at home holding the dress. She marveled at it, touched by Finley's kindness. It wasn't just the dress. It was the acknowledgement that she mattered, that she was seen, that she had value beyond her job. This small gift was a symbol of the respect she had earned, but Lily's journey wasn't just about the dress or the job. It was about her ability to rise above her circumstances, to break free from the chains of her past, and to chase something more. It was about discovering her own worth. The next morning, as Lily prepared for work, there was an unexpected knock on her door. When she opened it, she was stunned to see Finley standing there with a bouquet of wildflowers in his hands. He smiled warmly, and for the first time, Lily noticed a depth in his eyes, a tenderness that went beyond gratitude or respect. "Lily," he began, "I've been thinking a lot about you, about your future, about everything you've done for us." Before she could respond, Finley stepped aside, revealing the people who had been standing behind him. There, with wide smiles and happy tears, were Grace and Julia. "They're here," Finley said simply. "I couldn't let you go on thinking you had to leave them behind. We've made arrangements. Grace and Julia are coming to live here, with you." Lily's world stopped. Her grandmother and sister, here, with her, in the city. She had never expected this. Her family had always been her anchor, and now they would be a part of the life she was building, the life she had worked so hard to create. Tears filled her eyes as she rushed to embrace Grace and Julia. The reunion was overwhelming. Laughter, tears, joy. It was the family she had fought for, and now they were finally together again. That night, they all sat around the dinner table, sharing stories and making plans. It felt like a dream. Lily, once a lonely caretaker, now surrounded by love and possibility.